17 and my daughter who's 10. I'm a small businessman. Up until June of this year, I was a licensed reseller of Boston College merchandise. Colleges certainly don't like the high-value business of selling their hats and T-shirts and sweatpants and sweatshirts, and so they license out this job to a company like mine, and then we pay them royalties. So that's what I was doing until June, and as of now, this is what I'm doing full-time, running around this district and meeting folks like yourselves. I'm running for Congress because our representative has failed us. Nikki Songus, all we need to do is look at her voting record, and she's voted 95% of the time with the leadership of her party. Now, keep in mind that this district that we're in, the new Mass 3rd District, is 55% unenrolled voters. That leaves us without a voice and effectively disenfranchises us. I'm running for Congress because we have a jobs crisis in this country right now. And all we need to do, I'm a practical guy and I like to look at numbers, we've got an unemployment rate in this country that's been over 8% for 36 months and counting. If you look at the rates here in Massachusetts, statewide, we have a 6.5% unemployment rate. But right here in this district, the unemployment rate is higher. In Representative Songus' hometown of Lowell, it's 8.8%. Lawrence is 14.5%. Up in Haverhill, Methuen, it's almost 9%. And someone here can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in Gardner and Fitchburg, it's approaching 9% as well. And to me, everything revolves around jobs. If you don't have an income, you're not paying your oil bill. If you don't have an income, you can't put gas in your car. I know a little bit about unemployment, and it's particularly poignant for me, because when I went off to school, after it took me 2 years to get in, my dad called me after the first month I was there and told me he had lost his job, and that it looked like I was going to have to come home from school. Well, a place that took me 2 years to get into, I wasn't turning around and going back home to Florida. What I did is I had to stop playing baseball, and I had to work 40 hours a week, and in the summers I delivered beer with the Teamsters Union out of Hartford, and the good news is that I was able to graduate with my class on time. Now, my folks weren't so lucky. They separated, and we ended up losing our family home to foreclosure. I tell you this story because, you know, we don't hear a lot about social costs of this chronic unemployment that we have in this district. And let's look a little bit about what Representative Songus has done with regard to jobs and the economy in this country. We'll talk about two: stimulus package and the health care plan. She's been on the wrong side of both of these. The stimulus package was passed, $787 billion that, by the administration's own estimates, created or saved, and I don't know what a saved job is, but we'll use these numbers anyway, 3.5 million jobs created or saved. That's at a cost of $225,000 a year. That's an expensive cost for a job, and these aren't sustainable jobs. We were told this was going to keep the unemployment rate under 8%, and it hasn't. We've been at over 8% for 36 months and counting. Now, to me, private sector is where sustainable jobs are created. They've always been, historically, that's where they've been created. This stimulus package was nothing more than an 8-year Democratic punch list to direct capital and funds to their constituent groups. The second piece of legislation we'll talk about that we've been hearing a lot about is the health care plan. Now, this health care plan was supposed to cost just under $1 trillion and was supposed to provide coverage for everyone in the country. Now, we don't know whether this is actually going to be constitutional or not. The Supreme Court will weigh in on this in June, most likely, from what we hear. But to me, the problem with health care is that it's too expensive. And most people, if we use the administration's numbers of 46 million people who don't afford themselves the health care, don't do so because it's too expensive. Now, this health care plan that's been passed has done nothing to bring down the cost of health care for people here in this country. In fact, the Congressional Budget Office just came out not more than a month ago and told us that the cost of implementation of this health care plan has gone from somewhere around $800 billion to $1.7 trillion. It's doubled in cost. It's not working. There were 1,241 companies that applied for waivers. Why? Because it was too expensive to implement. Now, the Department of Health and Human Services tell us that these waivers show us that the plan is flexible. I say it shows that it doesn't work.